Hello students. Yesterday we were discussing about the combination of cells and the grouping of cells and how can we make batteries by using them, and there a number of things we have seen what we have to do if we want to increase the current, if we want to get the maximum current, if we are doing different kinds of grouping there. So today let's discuss first about the potentiometer, the application of the potential and its dependence on different kinds of values or identities. So first, before just discussing the potentiometer, I will just take some of the numerical problems on the grouping and combination of the cell that we have discussed. So next question is here, the EMF of the battery is 6 volt and its its internal resistance is 1.5 ohm. So let's first write the data. EMF is given, this is 6 volt, and its internal resistance, this is given to be 1.5 ohm here. Next, its potential difference is measured by a voltmeter of resistance 1000 ohm. Means we are connecting a voltmeter that has resistance how much? 1000 ohm. Now we have to find out the percent error in the reading of EMF shown by the voltmeter. Means if we have a cell that has EMF epsilon and internal resistance R, and now we are connecting a voltmeter in this, and we just want to see what is the value of EMF by using this voltmeter. So you know that voltmeter is a device through which we can measure the voltage that is flowing in our circuit. So here we can measure the voltage of this by using this one. So this is I current is flowing through it, and here the voltmeter that has resistance, it is given 1000 ohm. So you can see that here it means we have connected a resistor of 1000 ohm in series with this cell here. So again we can use the same formula that we have used before to find out the percentage error. So let's see how can we find out. So first, before finding out the percentage error, we just have to know what is the value of the EMF that this voltmeter has measured here. So for that case we have a formula, that is I is equal to epsilon upon R plus small r. Means what is the value of current that is flowing in this circuit by this epsilon EMF, small r and capital R resistance. So let's write down the values here. Value of epsilon is given, this is 6. Value of capital R, this is 1000 ohm is given, and value of small r, that is given 1.5. and now if you will solve it, then its value is obtained 5.991 into 10 to the power minus 3 ampere. So this is the value of current that is flowing in our circuit. Now we can find out what is the voltage that is measured by this voltmeter. So as voltage can be given is I current is flowing through this voltmeter, and 1000 ohm resistance is here, then by using Ohm's law we can just write voltage, so that is I into R. So the value of I, that is 5.991 into 10 to the power minus 3 into the value of R we have, that is 1000, or we can write this one. So we can obtain, this is 5991 volt. This voltage is measured by the voltmeter. Now we had the EMF that is 6 volt, and now we have measured the value, that is 5.991 volt. Then let's find out what is the percentage error. Then you know that the percentage error is calculated by, percentage error is calculated by change in potential, or you can write this is epsilon minus V, change in potential upon original potential into 100. So original potential is epsilon into 100%. So if you will write value, then this is 6, this is 5.991, this is upon 6 into 100%, and if you will solve it, then this is obtained to be 0.15%. So this is the percentage error by the voltmeter that has measured the value of EMF of any cell. So if we will use voltmeter here to find out the EMF of any cell, then some kind of error will be always there. because voltmeter we are just making that by using some resistor in the sun. So later I will tell you the process of the making voltmeter by using galvanometer also. In moving charge and magnetism we will discuss that. So I think that is now clear. So if this is now clear, then our next topic is potentiometer. So some even we are using potentiometer to measure the potential difference or measure the EMF or to compare the EMF easily in place of voltmeter. So later I will tell you why we are using potentiometer in place of voltmeter, because we had already a device but we have designed a new device. What is the advantage of its designing? So let's see that. First of all, what is the potentiometer here? So in the case of potentiometer, this is just like a device that we have discussed before, meter bridge. So it is also based on the concept of the null point method. Means sorry student, like in the case of meter bridge or Wheatstone bridge, we are working to find out a point where deflection in galvanometer is 0, means a null point, a balance point we are obtaining. So the same method here we are also using, but the principle of the working of potentiometer is different. So like just before I have discussed a numerical that if we are using voltmeter to measure the EMF of any cell, then that time some of the error that we are obtaining due to the resistance used in that voltmeter. So we are just making a device, potentiometer, to measure the potential difference of any cell, or to find out the EMF of cell, internal resistance of cell, or to compare the EMFs. So lot of application of potentiometers we have. So before just discussing its principle, let's see what is the construction of potentiometer. So basically potentiometer is constructed on a wooden board, just like the meter bridge, and in this case on this wooden board a meter scale is attached to it. So again this meter scale can measure 100 centimeter, and we are using number of wires on these potentiometer. So here different metallic strips we have, and these metallic strips on these number of wires are connected in such a way. Number of wires you are seeing, these are connected in such a way, and these wires can be 4 or more, and these are connected at 2 points in this potentiometer. So such kind of device we have, this is known as potentiometer, on which on a wooden board we are just taking, or we are connecting a metallic wire that has the length of each wire here, that is 100 centimeter or 1 meter, and we are using 4 or more wires, 10 wires, 8 wires, 6 wires, according to our need on this potentiometer. Clear? So it means that you can just increase the length of the wire here by using this one. And also here number of strips we have, number of points here, 2 points we have through which we can connect batteries, we can connect galvanometer, we can connect jockey through it. So we are connecting the same thing here. We are connecting a battery with the help of these 2 points. So suppose if we are connecting a battery here between these points, and along with the battery we are connecting a galvanometer here, and also a jockey with that galvanometer. So if we will do some kind of thing, then we can measure the potential difference. See how can we measure potential difference through this device. So I think construction of this device is now clear. This is very easy construction of it. Only on a wooden board, number of wires we have, metallic wires we have, and every wire has a length of 1 meter, and these are connected by some copper strip, some metallic strips here. So the principle of potentiometer is here, that is the potential drop across some length of the wire for the for the uniform cross sectional area, and a constant current flowing through it, then potential drop is directly proportional to the length of the wire. Suppose we have 30 centimeter length of here wire, then for that length the potential difference that will be directly proportional to it, and by using that method we can calculate the EMF of any cell that we have connected. in this potentiometer. Clear? So let's just find out where we can obtain this relationship. So by using Ohm's law, you know that V is equal to IR we have, and in the place of R you can write rho L upon A. So this is the relationship through which we can represent the dependency of resistance on different kind of conditions. So here, as I just told you, if a constant current is flowing through the circuit, obviously if we are using a cell here, then through that cell if the constant current is flowing, and the material for the wire, that is also constant, and area of cross section, that is if constant, then V is directly proportional to L, because all these constant can be replaced by another constant, and we can just write V directly proportional to L. So this is the basic principle of the potentiometer, that is the potential drop across any length is directly proportional to its length here. So it means how we can use this principle to find out the EMF here. So as we are connecting this galvanometer and we are connecting a jockey through it, so by using this jockey, we just find again here the null point. So you know that EMF is that potential difference for which no current is drawn from the cell. So if we are using actually a voltmeter, then we are using the current to measure the EMF there. So you know that current we are obtaining, and due to the internal resistance some of the voltage drop occur there, and due to that voltmeter cannot measure accurately the EMF of any cell. So by using null method we can find out accurately it. So for that case we are using jockey and we are moving over this. So after the movement, if you can even see that if you will just attach jockey here, then galvanometer, its deflection is suppose in left side, then if you will attach here or anywhere in this wire, then it will be in right side. So it means that between these two wires, anywhere a point will obtain where we can obtain something null point or zero current in this. So we start to move jockey on this. Suppose this is our jockey and we started to move on this wire here. So on the movement you can move on this, and suppose again the deflection is in left side, we still move on it, and deflection is in left side. Suppose we are moving on it and we are getting a deflection started to decrease, and sometimes at this point suppose this deflection becomes zero here. So it means that for this length, for this point, the current that is drawing from the battery or cell, that becomes zero. In the deflection in galvanometer zero, it means that no current is flowing through the circuit. That's why galvanometer cannot detect any current. You know that galvanometer is a detector device that can detect voltage, presence of voltage or current in the circuit. So when the current in the circuit becomes zero, and that time the deflection in galvanometer, that will be zero. So it means that if null point, a balance point or zero point we are obtaining in galvanometer for this point, then it means that here the null point we have occurred, zero current means now no current is drawn from the battery, no potential drop is drawn from the battery. So you know that if I is zero, then obviously the potential is measured, that is accurate, and that is equal to EMF of the cell. So now we can find out what is the length of this. To find out the length, we can take, this is obviously 100 centimeter, again this wire is 100 centimeter, and now if we move, suppose we have just moved 45 centimeter on this, now from here to here, then for that case this will be 2 wires we have. This is of 200 meter plus 45 centimeter. So total length of the wire 245 centimeter. For this length we are obtaining zero current in galvanometer, means for this length no current is drawn from the battery. Now we can apply this concept to find out the potential or to EMF here, because EMF is directly proportional to the length. So we can just find out these two. Current you can measure in the circuit by multimeter. You can find out area of the wire by using screw gauge here, and conductivity, resistivity of the material is fixed, and you can take see it by the chart. And after that you can calculate what will be the EMF for this particular length from when when the current in the circuit is 0. So it means that this device can measure accurately the EMF of any cell. So we are using this device to measure the EMF of any cell. Second application of this one is we can measure the internal resistance here by using some resistance box in series with this. So we are measuring internal resistance of the cell here also. Also we are comparing two EMFs of different primary cells by using potentiometer. So for that concept you can use the same concept, V is equal to KL. So for that case first suppose you are just using two cell, one is Leclanché cell, second is Daniell cell. So for you have connected Leclanché cell and you have find out what is the balance length. So suppose balance length is L1 and for that EMF that is obtained, this is E1 is equal to KL1. Similarly for Daniell cell you have connected Daniell cell, you have calculated what is its null point or balance length. So for that case you can suppose this is L2 and we can write EMF for this. Now if you will take ratio of these two, this is equal to L1 upon L2. So this ratio we are using to compare the EMF of two cells by using the null point method. So this is very accurate method, very easy method to find out the EMFs of cell or to find out internal resistance or to compare them. So this is a more accurate device than the voltmeter because it is not drawing any type of current from the circuit, because we are using null method here, and on the null point or balance point, as no current is drawn from the circuit, no potential drop is occurring. So it means that we are measuring the accurate EMF here. So this is more accurate device than voltmeter. So I think the potentiometer and its advantage is now clear. Why we are using potentiometer here. One more advantage is here, we can use number of wires on this, and through this we can increase the sensitivity of the potentiometer. Means sensitivity means always, I just told you how small the measurement we can done by the instrument here. So if we can measure the small potential difference even from the potentiometer, then we can say that its sensitivity is better there. So sensitivity of potentiometer is also better. We can just measure small potential difference here also. We can even measure the small resistance from this. So this is more accurate device, more sensitive device, more easy method to just find out the value of potential difference of fluid. So I think student, the potentiometer, its concept, its principle, its uses, that is all now clear to you. Then let's discuss the next topic and the last topic of our chapter, that is effect of temperature on resistivity. So our topic is effect of temperature on resistivity. We have already discussed the effect of temperature on the resistance, and there we have seen that resistance of any conductor that is increasing with the temperature. So here also for the resistivity we will do the same kind of thing, because resistance is depending on different factor, resistivity is depending on different factor here. So for the case of resistivity, as you know that resistivity is reciprocal of conductivity, and we can write down formula for this, that is m upon n E square tau. Okay? This we have derived before already. So we can use this formula here. Now in this formula, as m and e, these are the mass and electronic charge on the particle. So these are the constant quantity. It means that rho is directly proportional to these two things, n and tau here, where n is number density of the electron and tau is relaxation time, average relaxation time that any particle, any charged particle is taking to move from one end to another end. Clear, I think. Now how the these two terms are depending on the temperature for different kind of material. So for first material that we will discuss, that is for metal or conductors. So for the metal or conductors, let's see how the resistivity of metal or conductor is varying. So if we will increase the temperature here, then you know that already in conductor or metal a large number of electrons you have. Free electron are in abundance, we have already in large amount. So when we increase the temperature here, as they are behaving just like the gas, then they receive thermal energy to increase their kinetic energy. So as here kinetic energy is increasing more in comparison to the breaking of covalent bonds. So here temperature, actually thermal energy, when we are supplying it to the system or atoms, then there are two kind of uses of this. First use it, they use this kind of energy to break covalent bonds or to release more electrons there, means number density to increase in that. And secondly thing, they increase their speed or kinetic energy. As you know that kinetic energy is depending on the temperature by this factor. This is for the gas, and you know that electron is also behaving like the gas, and this theory can be applied here also. So temperature is increasing means kinetic energy of the electron is increasing, and due to that its velocity will increase obviously. And if the drift velocity is increasing, which means that the vibration of the electron, that will increase, and due to increase in oscillation they will transfer more rapid their energy, and the current will reach from one end to another end more rapidly in less time. So it means with increase in temperature, this factor tau, this is decreasing. So as this factor tau is decreasing, and also I am telling you already in conductor a large amount of charge carriers we have, large amount of electrons we have. So basically they are not using the thermal energy to break more covalent bond because they don't need it. So they use it to increase their kinetic energy. And already why they are not doing so? Because the electrons there that are in innermost orbit, and we need more supply energy to release them. That's why they use that energy to increase the kinetic energy there. So this term is not varying very appreciably with the time, with the temperature. So that's why we cannot we can just suppose that this is just constant for the variation in temperature. So it means that rho is depending on only this factor. So as tau, this is relaxation type, that is increasing, not increasing, with increase in temperature this is decreasing. So as this one is decreasing, as this is inversely proportional, it means that resistivity, that is increasing here. So simple, for the case of the metal, the resistivity of the conductor or metal, that is increasing with increase in temperature. And in formula form, if you want to write how it is dependent on that, then just like the same relationship as we have used for the resistance, that was 1 plus alpha T, we can use it again for the resistivity. So resistivity is also defined by or given by, for any temperature T, it is given by alpha here T minus T0. So here this rho 0 is the resistivity at 0 degrees Celsius, this is at T degrees Celsius, and alpha again, this is temperature coefficient of resistivity here. Now you can see that from this expression, if alpha is positive, then obviously this resistance with temperature, this will be, or with change in temperature you can say, you can also write in the place of this Tt. Suppose we are changing the temperature by 1 degree Celsius, and if alpha is positive, then its resistance will also resistivity will also change with that temperature. So it means that for the metal or conductor, as you know already, we have discussed before, alpha is positive, so then you can see that resistivity with temperature, this is increasing. So this is our first factor, that its resistivity is increasing, but it is showing different kind of behavior for different kind of materials we have. So suppose we have copper or other metals, so for that resistivity is always increasing with temperature. So if you have to plot the graph there, so this is in the order of 10 power minus 8 ohm meter, and this is our temperature in Kelvin, then its graph is obtained in such a way. So this is the graph for the between resistivity and temperature for the metallic conductor. Second thing, suppose we have some alloys like we have discussed before, We are using alloys like magnin, we are using constantin, we are using eureka to make the standard resistor, because they have the value of alpha that is very small, and means for the large change in temperature, alpha will change, as alpha is very small, then there will be very small effect on the resistor, and we can change a large amount of resistance for the small change in temperature. Clear? Or you can say that if we are measuring the resistance, we are changing the resistance by the large value, then there is very small change in temperature, because if there will be large change in temperature, then definitely the system will be heated there, and due to heating problem we will have to cool that. So that problem is avoid if we are using such kind of alloys there. Clear? And they have already, you know, that high resistivity. Metals, they have low resistivity. The property of metal is they have low resistivity. Property of alloys is they have high resistivity. So we are using that to make a standard resistor here. So for the alloys, if you will see different kinds of alloys, like if you are seeing the example of magnin, you are seeing the example of nichrome wire that we are using in our electrical circuits. So for the nichrome, as they are very weakly dependent on the temperature. So if you want to just plot the graph for the nichrome, so this is resistivity, this is temperature, then this graph is obtained in such a way. So very small dependence on the temperature that is occurred here for the nichrome. And for magnin, if you will draw the graph, then it is obtained that for magnin, basically the resistivity of, as it is very high, so it is almost independent of the increase of temperature, because already resistivity is high. So it is basically near about independent of the temperatures, and you can just plot the graph for the magnin here. So for different kind of material, we can just find out what is their dependence on the of resistivity on temperature. Next thing that we have in this, like if we have semiconductor or semiconductor material, first let's see that, after that insulator we will just discuss. So for the case of semiconductor material, you know that in semiconductor like germanium, silicon we have, and in that kind of material we have very small number of charge carrier here that is present for the conduction, but they are greater than the insulator even. So it means that some charge carriers we have. So if we will increase temperature here, then system will utilize this thermal energy first to break the covalent bond. So first it will utilize that energy to break covalent bonds. It means that covalent bond is breaking, and obviously number of charge carriers here are increasing due to the breakage of covalent bond. So here first thing that is changing due to temperature, that is number density, means electron per unit volume, that will be changed if we will increase here temperature. After a certain value, it will behave like the conductor, means then it will utilize the thermal energy to increase its kinetic energy. First it is utilizing it to just break the covalent bonds in the system here. So if you will see the dependency of number density at temperature, so it is dependent exponentially in such a way, like we have, this is n0 e power minus e divided by kt. So where easy you can write, this is kBT. So where easy is band gap between conduction band or valence band. Later this topic we will discuss in semiconductor chapter, that is the last chapter you have. So in that chapter we will discuss it in electronics. But this is band gap energy, this is Boltzmann constant Kb, and this is temperature T. So number density is depending on such of the factor. If temperature will increase, then due to increment of temperature this factor will decrease, and we can see that as it is negative, it means that here this will be decreased, then obviously its value will, number density will increase here. So as the number density is increasing, then if you will see this rho, that is dependency of rho, we have seen this is dependent on two factor here. This is as it is not utilizing in starting to increase its kinetic energy, so here relaxation time that will not change for the electrons here, but number density will change here. So this is the difference between conductor and semiconductor. So as this is changing, then you can write here the value for this. So suppose we are writing it some 1 by rho for T, this is equal to 1 upon rho 0 T, or simple rho 0, just write it, and into you can write n here, like if you will just write it 1 by rho, so this will be proportional to n, or if you will just solve the proportionality, suppose rho 0 we are getting here, so we are using that concept here. So for that case it will be n0 e power minus ec divided by kbt, or if you will just calculate or solve it, then it will be obtained as rho is equal to some rho 0. Yeah, you can suppose we are just denoting whole of the point by this one, so rho 0, this is e power ez by kbt. So here from this factor you can see that if temperature is increased, this factor will decrease, and due to decrease of this factor it will decrease the resistivity of the semiconductor. So simple resistivity of semiconductor is decreasing with increase in temperature. And for insulator, as you already know, alpha is negative. So whenever alpha is negative, resistivity will decrease with temperature. So, and if we are talking about the electrolytes, then for electrolyte it is also decreasing. So I think all the concept about the chapter that is now clear. Then students, let's end the class here. Thank you.